Hello and welcome to this session about expanding your data perspective. My name is Stephen McMaster, and I'm a technical strategist at Dell Technologies, focusing on data services, including SQL. Let's spend a few minutes talking about the significant changes that have occurred around data. Now today, every business needs to be a digital organization, powered by data, running in a multi-cloud world. The digital future is now, and it's only going to get more intense. Now, there are many paths towards modernizing your Microsoft data estate. And we understand you're looking for a solution that will meet your needs today while laying a foundation for where you need to be tomorrow. We've all heard of the importance of data and how this is the data decade. Data is embedded in every facet of our business. New technologies enable the ability to dramatically enhance the way databases are repurposed and how data is addressed. And businesses have to change the processes to leverage that technology. And people, like database administrators and system administrators, need to create new processes to use new tools and technologies when repurposing databases. The hybrid realities will drive customers to consumption models that best address their business needs. We are at the forefront of a new era of data management. Now, data management is not a one-size-fits-all strategy, but there are some fundamental changes that have recently been introduced that kind of crept up on us, and it requires us to look at this story in a different lens. When we re-examine what has happened recently with data technologies, it forces us to address data with a new paradigm, a refreshed point of view. Changes around how data is addressed can be summarized in three distinct influences. We'll start with data gravity. Data gravity is the idea that data has weight, just like the idea of how a planet has satellites that orbit it. Data insight services, whether artificial intelligence or machine learning or data analytics, they have a requirement for execution speed and efficiencies that, again, best orbits where the data is physically. Now, data gravity does not necessarily mean on premises, but let's recall that cloud and cloud services are really an idea, not just a location. All it means is that you bring the analytics and the applications to the data, whether on premises, in the public cloud, or increasingly a hybrid between the two. Historically, there have been silos of data with hardened walls between them. Different data languages and different versions within that create a construct in which one common interface has not been able to address all data. Previously, getting everything in a common interface required an ETL event, which has been historically expensive and slow. But what if we could get access to that data without the data actually being moved? Data virtualization technologies does exactly that. Instead of the data being locked within a silo without any ability to address or derive insight off of that data, tools like Microsoft SQL Polybase allows me to access any data source, whether based on SQL or Oracle or unstructured data sets like Hadoop. And in so doing, we can have one common interface like Microsoft Transact SQL to get access over all of that data. But the data remains in place. I'm not taking the data away. However, having access to all of that data allows me to make deeper and more strategic business decisions from that data. And new infrastructure technologies, leveraging containers and container orchestration, allows me to do this on a wide variety of portfolio architectures, regardless of whatever management tools might have been decided years ago, whether Microsoft or VMware or flavors of open source like Red Hat or SUSE. I can address my data in a holistic model far beyond a review of the hardware on which the data resides. Now, thinking about that new paradigm and the what's next of that story, well, that's a fundamental focus around intelligent insights. Bringing cloud services to where the data is needs an intelligent edge. And you can address this in your core data center using conventional or converged architectures, at the near edge, where single node or small multi-node environments apply, think a building or a factory, and importantly, at the far edge, where the data source is being created. Think of sensors and IoT and video. And recall that we mentioned that this is the data decade. Over the next few years, it is predicted that half of all data creation will be at the edge. Unlocking that data and utilizing that data is of critical importance. And this is applicable to all businesses and public environments: retail, manufacturing, finance, government, healthcare, to just name just a few. And with data virtualization tools, I can use one common interface to drive insight over all data, regardless of location or type, cloud or core or edge. Let's use an example. Let's say I'm using SQL 2019. I can ingest HDFS native files into the SQL environment with data virtualization and perform services on that data, all through one interface. The SQL environment can be running in my core data center on a super fast architecture, and the native HDFS data running on maybe one of our PowerScale products can be used to store, manage, and analyze unstructured data at the edge, say on the factory floor. And then a data scientist can use one interface, T-SQL, to access all of that data to make objective business decisions, both tactically and strategically, by using services like data analytics and machine learning and artificial intelligence. And to do that, embrace containers to experience a true hybrid cloud reality. Containers creates a level environment between traditional public cloud and on-premises builds. A SQL container is the same application model if I use it in the Azure cloud as it would be if I used it on-prem with a container solution like OpenShift. And it's not private cloud or public cloud or even private in public, but a highly interactive tool using one common tool to manage hybrid cloud. So we see the need to address the entire stack, not just the hardware. Server, storage, converged, hybrid cloud, all of these on-premises solutions are in play, but beyond just the hardware point of view. In many instances, the best decision is to containerize all the things. Again, a common experience is imparted where the data administrator and their customers, like data scientists, custom application designers, and analytics experts, are all using the same fundamental interface. If we might use a farming analogy, you create a fertile field of containerized architectures in which you can then plant the seeds of containerized applications and services. That could be SQL or SQL Database Edge or Azure Arc Data Services, to just name a few. And while Microsoft is a leader in data services, most relational and unstructured data applications are moving in the same direction towards containerized environments over the next few years. And containerization in this orchestration derives consistency of path forward from the data perspective. Evergreen and cloud native versions of applications come from a container registry and runs on whatever architecture you might desire. For example, I could use Azure Arc SQL to run hybrid cloud on the new Azure Stack HCI, or VxRail with VMware, or on Red Hat OpenShift. And because this is true hybrid cloud, you are able to control data services with hybrid uniformity. Tools like Azure Data Studio to manage both your Azure public cloud resources and those applications running at the intelligent edge. So being a solutions provider recognizes that the examination, again, of the entire stack is required in continuing your data journey. The stack is where those services run, starting at bare metal all the way to the application with 7 layers up that stack. This point of view helps you determine the path towards this goal of any data, anywhere, and in any way. And with a fully supported stack, in terms of considering all the choices and dependencies that are made at each layer up the stack and down the stack, there is a fully supported stack available that includes services and products from Dell Technologies, as well as VMware, Red Hat, Microsoft, of course. And also there's many open source choices that your teams can make along the way. But in the end, it comes down to who wants to support what and where and when. And as with all journeys, there are steps to achieve this process that leads to the end goal of data modernization. Start with revitalize the infrastructure to support containerization. Again, that can be server, storage, converged, or hyper-converged architectures from a broad portfolio of Dell solutions. Practically the entire portfolio of Dell Enterprise class products are in the mix here. PowerEdge, PowerFlex, PowerStore, vSAN, VxRail, Azure Stack family, to just name a few. All of these support containerization technologies, which in turn allows you to support a true hybrid approach. Then enable containerization on top of that environment. Again, there's many paths forward here, Microsoft, VMware, Red Hat, and others. But this in turn will influence how the containers are orchestrated and becomes the driver towards embracing technologies like Azure Arc and VMware Tanzu, as well as Red Hat OpenShift. And when those infrastructure updates for containerization are achieved, you can activate the idea of everything as a service. What does that mean? Well, database as a service, infrastructure or containers or Kubernetes as a service, which effectively can perform as platform as a service. And then you run SQL or other data services, again, on that fertile field. Gain greater business agility with authentic DevOps at the speed of the internet. And teams must align with these services. And that can enable massive scalability as well as multi-tenancy and independence and very rapid time to value. Yes, containerization is a little more complex under the covers, but the value that it provides and consistency of data usage experience more than offsets that change. The foundation of any solid design of the stack starts with Dell Technologies solutions for SQL Server. Now, Dell Technologies infrastructure is best positioned to drive consistency up and down the stack and is supplemented by subject matter experts who work with you to make optimal decisions concerning compute, storage, and backup. Now that we've laid our foundation on Dell Technologies, we can pivot to other Dell economic solution sets as our journey continues up the stack. Let's keep going. Are we sticking to physical 10 to bare metal? Should we apply a virtualization consolidation factor here, like ESXi, Hyper-V, or KVM? Do we want to move to open source in terms of a fully supported stack? Virtualization itself is optional at this point. Again, the answers are fluid right now. It's okay to say it depends. And then the choices at layer 3 help drive the decision or maturity curve comfort level all the way back to layer 1. Additionally, at this juncture, we also start talking about the subsequent layers and thinking about the orchestration of containers with Kubernetes. At this level is where we also need to start thinking about CSI or container storage interface drivers and where that will be supported. So now we've arrived at the operating system where things get really, really interesting. The considerations around this layer are you can use Windows Server. It's available in a few different forms, the desktop experience, Core, Nano, but you can also use Linux as an operating system. And there's many choices here, including Red Hat and Ubuntu, SUSE, just to name a few. And the consideration and options for layer 5, the container control plane, there's a few options here. There's VMware VCF4, there's Red Hat OpenShift, there's AKS or the Azure Kubernetes Services, which is on premises with Azure Stack Hub and now with Azure Stack HCI, as well as just vanilla Kubernetes. And that takes us to the container orchestration pane. It's best to now manage through a single pane of glass, understanding and managing all the things. Considerations here are Azure Arc Kubernetes and Azure Arc for data services, as well as VMware Tanzu. And finally, at the top of the stack, we reach the application layer and our SQL Server modernization. We can now install SQL Server or any ancillary service offering to the SQL Service ecosystem. For within this layer is the application. For this conversation, we've been using SQL 2019 and the appropriate decisions in building your stack that will lead you to hybrid cloud like Azure Arc Data Services or SQL Server or Kubernetes is a requirement here. So why Dell for all of this? Well, we've been a forerunner in adopting these technologies with Microsoft for quite some time. The thought leadership we have aligned with Microsoft on this topic is excellent. When SQL 2019 was announced, we recognized what a game changer it is. At Dell, with all the different resources in play, we remain focused on supporting your choice, a choice of diverse architectures, both traditional and some of the newer software-defined ones, a choice of orchestration tools to help manage these Kubernetes constructs, and a choice of hybrid cloud and multi-cloud environments. Our holistic model helps you map your data-centric journey, and it comes as a complete solution beyond just a limited hardware point of view and helps your future-proof planning for what's next as we continue to see more and more enablement of containerized hybrid solutions. And you get a solid partnership of working together with Dell to help you achieve your data goals. So how do you get there from here? Well, we recognize that this might be a lot with this new paradigm. Not everyone is able to adopt these new realities today. Let us help you there. We can help examine the as is of your current data solution and then start the path to the to be and those individual digestible steps to get there, as well as being ready for what's coming next over the very near-term horizon. We have services that can help you at any point of that journey, from helping you plan and consult to deploying those architectures and then supporting them once implemented. And again, why should you partner with Dell? Well, Microsoft and Dell have had an amazing relationship for over 35 years. We believe we're the most important and competent partner to Microsoft's enterprise business. We have dozens of Partner of the Year awards and all the competencies needed to update your data estate. And we have over 16,000 certified employees across customer support, maintenance, deployment, training, as well as consulting. And we have the most complete complementary products and solution set. Everything from the data center to the client, including cloud platforms, as well as servers, converged architectures down to workstations, and then everything to support it with business resiliency and data protection, security systems, as well as services. Because of all these things, we can make a very bold statement. Only Dell Technologies can provide an end-to-end and certified edge-to-core to cloud strategy to meet the challenges of the intelligent enterprise. So if you'd like to continue to explore this conversation in far more detail than what we just reviewed, visit the Dell Technologies virtual booth. We can mutually address your data journey and explore the solutions and reference architecture examples that are in play, as well as reflect on success examples and watch demos for how to do all of this, as well as interactive whiteboards talking about your specific business needs. Thank you for your time. We look forward to speaking more with you about what Dell can do to address your data journey.